What's up, everybody? Let's talk Jets radio. Quick video here. Reports coming out that Derek Carr's visit, of course, with the New York Jets went spectacularly well. The Jets love him. They want to make him their franchise quarterback, pay him top dollar. No surprise that these reports are coming out. It brings up the obvious question: are the New York Jets being used as leverage? I think they probably are. I don't think Carr genuinely wants to come to New York, nor do I think the New York Jets are just going to give him whatever he wants. I think it makes sense from Carr and his agent's perspective to leak this information out that, yeah, of course, the visit went well. The Jets view him as a franchise quarterback. They want to pay him anything, because ultimately it drives up competition, it drives up the price. It makes sense for them to say that. From the Jets' perspective, it doesn't make any sense at all to leak that kind of information out because ultimately, again, you're driving up the price, you're creating competition against yourself, and ultimately, Carr's the first quarterback available. Free agency hasn't even started yet. Aaron Rodgers, according to most reports, is still their plan A, even though the timelines, are kind of different here. But it just doesn't make any sense for the Jets to kind of throw it out there and act, in any kind of desperation where it's like, all right, 5, 6 years guaranteed, $45 million a year, no problem. Like, no, I think Joe Douglas is probably going to handle this negotiation the same way that he's handled most negotiations, where if a contract is going to get done, it's going to be on his terms. And I don't think that Douglas is going to view Derek Carr based on his resume as a guy that he would feel comfortable 5, 6 years guaranteed, 40 million plus. No, I don't think he's doing that. I think there would be at the very least, at the very minimum, some kind of opt out after 3 years if a deal does get done. But I still don't think anything is going to happen here. Ultimately, you have to wait for your plan A, and that's Aaron Rodgers. And you still have the draft to fall back on as well. This is a very talented draft class, especially for the quarterback position. I keep bringing it up. I don't know why it's dismissed. If you don't feel like you have the right guys in place to either draft a quarterback or develop a quarterback, then guess what? You don't have the right guys in place and you need to fire some people. So this is a talented draft class. There's no reason with the Jets having a hole at the quarterback position, sitting with the 13th pick, plenty of future picks that they could trade. There's no reason why, if they miss out on Aaron Rodgers, that they should feel like they have to act in any kind of desperation with Tannehill or Jimmy G if they don't go after Carr now, because the draft is still a possibility to me. When you look at Derek Carr being 9 years in the league, look at his resume and what it realistically is. Are the Jets any different from what he's been a part of? You could say, all right, he's coming to a talented defense. If he really needs a talented defense to be a franchise quarterback, is he a franchise quarterback? Because I feel like that's the exact same argument that we had with Mark Sanchez, right? You can win with Mark Sanchez. Well, yeah, you won because you had a dominant run game and you had a great defense. The same way the Jets were winning the first half of the year with Zach Wilson. He wasn't doing anything spectacular, but you had a dominant run game and you had a dominant defense. Now, can you repeat that going forward? The dominant defense, I have a legitimate question about how good this defense is, whether or not they can maintain it, and things like that. But if we're talking about competing for a Super Bowl, and this is what I keep bringing up, you want to compete with the best teams. You want to win in December and January. Well, Carr has a shitty record, 3-1 loss to win ratio against teams over 500. He's got a 5-1 loss to win ratio in cold weather games. So, what realistically makes you think he's coming to the New York Jets and becoming some kind of savior? He's not. He's a good quarterback, but he's got limits. He's got a ceiling. You want to go for a Super Bowl, you want to win something serious, you shoot for the stars, you try to get Aaron Rodgers. Your next option, if somehow Lamar Jackson becomes available, you empty out whatever picks you have and you get him. If that's not an option, you empty out whatever picks you were going to send and you find your quarterback in the draft. You can find a stopgap, Mike White, Tannehill, whoever. I don't really care. But you need a long-term answer, a legitimate franchise quarterback, especially if Saleh is going to be the head coach. The same argument I keep bringing up is that you look at all the Super Bowl winners, head coach, quarterback, at least one of them, almost every single year, is a top tier either head coach that won with a good quarterback or an elite quarterback that won with some kind of decent head coach. Very rarely do you find two middle of the road quarterbacks and head coaches that just have a phenomenal team around them and they go on a run and win a Super Bowl. It's very rare that happens. The Eagles may be the closest example, but Doug Peterson's a pretty damn good coach. You look at what he's already done in Jacksonville. You usually at least have one of those things. And the AFC has too many good coaches right now and too many good young quarterbacks that have been in systems, developing continuity with their receivers and in these systems to just think we're going to bring in Derek Carr. He's going to learn a new system. revamp his career and become an 11-12 win quarterback that's winning games in cold weather and, beating Mahomes in January. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And we're going to waste 3 or 4 years trying to figure that out. And then finally we're going to realize, oh, all right, that's why the Raiders got rid of him. He's got a ceiling. He's got limits. He's only going to get you so far. If you really want to win a Super Bowl, you got to bring in Aaron Rodgers. And if that doesn't happen, like I said, you have fallback options. You have other directions that you could go. You can bring back Mike White. You could still develop Zach Wilson in a new system and see what happens there. But continuity to me is still a big factor because ultimately, if Robert Saleh gets fired, good luck finding a head coach being tied to Derek Carr, who now would be on his, 7th head coach? Maybe he's the problem then, right? If every head coach that works with him doesn't experience any kind of success, well, maybe it's on him. It's so funny to me, and this is my last argument, I'm tired of ranting, but it's so funny to me that everyone brings up Aaron Rodgers' playoff record. Oh, look how many playoff losses he has. It's all on him. But somehow, with Derek Carr not making the playoffs and not winning any playoff games, it's all on everybody else. It's the defense, it's the offensive line, it's the coaching, it's the cheerleaders, it's the turf, it's the weather, it's the ball boy, it's the water boy. It's everybody else but Derek Carr. But Aaron Rodgers actually getting there every year, playing at a top 5 MVP Hall of Fame caliber level. No, it's all on him when they lose. It's not the rest of the team. It's all on Aaron Rodgers when they lose in the playoffs, even though he does have a Super Bowl and he does have, 14 or 10, 12, something like that playoff wins. No. None of that counts for Aaron Rodgers, right? And I understand the cap hits too, right? He's got from 2024 to 2026, he's got massive cap hits. Well, I think Drew Brees had, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Drew Brees had something very similar, and a year before he retired, he did a restructure with the Saints. I don't see any reason why Aaron Rodgers wouldn't do that with the team that eventually acquires him. And by all reports, the Packers and him, they're done. The relationship's severed. So, why would he go to a new team and create the same kind of friction? So eventually, when it is his time to retire, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't do something team-friendly to limit the kind of cap hits that the team trading for him would experience. And, the other argument is about the draft picks. Well, you look at the Jets roster, they probably have 8 to 10 starters from the last two draft classes, right? Rookies on rookie salaries. You can afford to trade draft picks. You can afford to pay Aaron Rodgers and take those cap hits. It's not a big deal. You can afford to do it now. You can't do it probably in 3 to 4 years when you got to pay all these guys, but you can do it right now. You had all the excess picks, and many of them you hit on in the last 2 years, especially last year. That's a foundational building draft class. So now you go all in and you get your quarterback. You get your guy that takes you to the next level. You can afford to do it now. With all those guys making next to nothing, that's the time to do it. And guess what? Even if you do give up a first-round pick, and I don't think it's going to take that based on his contract, even if you do give up a first-round pick, even if you give up 2 first-round picks, you've got rounds 2 through 6. If you have a good GM, finding talent in those rounds shouldn't be rocket science. So to me, this entire argument exhausts the hell out of me because I can't view it any differently. Carr's been in the league 9 years. He hasn't experienced success. He's put up numbers. That's great. He's better than what the Jets have had in the past. That's great. You put him on last year's team. They're a playoff team. Great. Are you winning a Super Bowl? That's the only thing that matters to me. You want to win a championship. You play the game to, I'm not trying to go Herm Edwards, but you play to win, right? You play to win. You want to win a Super Bowl. We've spent how many years rebuilding to what? Settle for plan B and a wild card spot? No, dude, I'm not selling for that shit. So you guys can tout Carr all you want. I'm telling you, in 3 to 4 years, we're going to be like, damn, we wasted all this time, all this talent on these rookie contracts making nothing for Derek Carr and a couple playoff wins at best with no serious run at a Super Bowl. That's the ceiling. That's what you get with Carr. Give me Rodgers, give me the pipe dream of Lamar Jackson, or trade up and go get your franchise quarterback. Talk to you later.